The first time we sat in our son's house, and he grabbed my hand, Lonnie grabbed my hand, and he said, your mother and I were going to work on getting back together. I've committed to that. And then a week later, he's like, I'm not seeing your mother anymore because, I've got this other person. Lonnie has always been a man of utmost integrity. He's got a spirit of excellence about him. And they've never known him to break his word. And so they witnessed this whole craziness for a year. I was a corporate wife with a very successful husband, and we moved a number of times with our children. And then the last move we had made was one to the corporate headquarters in Iowa. He had this big dream about restoring this wonderful house. Well, guess who did most of the restoring? After 5 years, I started focusing on how miserable I was. I took my eyes off the Lord and just started feeling sorry for myself, because he was still traveling like he had before, only now he was so frustrated coming home on the weekends because he couldn't get anything done. He'd still come in on Saturdays and leave on Sunday evenings, traveling so much. What little time he had, we canceled one vacation after the next vacation. But like I said, by that time I had already made up my mind I was leaving. So by that time we'd been married almost 30 years. And I went back to Tennessee and stayed with my daughter, looked for an apartment. Lonnie came up every 2 weeks, and we dated. And that was a 14-hour drive for him each direction. So he was all of a sudden he found the time. As things go, I met somebody that was very charming and did everything Lonnie never did. And so I was very flattered, and I started going out with that gentleman. And I still kept dating my husband on every other weekend. I know that's a really weird situation, but that's what it was, because I really didn't want to let go of him. And it wasn't because of the financial thing. I mean, at this point, we were legally divorced. He actually was moved by the company he worked for back to Tennessee. I had purchased, with my divorce settlement, I had purchased some property, and I built a rental building. So here was my opportunity. Well, lo and behold, I finished my first building, and here comes Lonnie, buys the lot right next to me, likes the format, and copies the format, hires the same builder, and builds right next to me. And we actually had to share a driveway. So we had a lot of legal stuff to go through, because we had shared easements and legal papers. And after about, a year of this, the attorney just said, this is, the fact that you guys are divorced is really complicating things. We had gone on New Year's Eve event in Chattanooga, and that was a sad evening. And after about an hour and a half, Lonnie just said, "Okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm going to take you home." And he said, "I want to get remarried, and you don't want to go there, so, I'm done." And I said, "Okay, that works for me." Your heart gets cold when you don't spend any time with the Lord, and my heart was cold. I was having regrets, and I missed him, because we really hadn't been seeing each other at all. We lived in the same complex, and we saw each other in passing, but we really had spent no time together. So I went over and I talked with him, and I said, "You have a counselor?" Because he had always wanted us to go to marriage counseling. At the end of the session, the counselor looks at me and she says, "So, where are you with Jesus? Where do you stand in your walk with the Lord?" I said, "Look, I got $3 worth of God. I'm good." I said, "Jesus and I, we're okay. We're not exactly on speaking terms, but I know he's listening." So she said, "Oh, really?" All of a sudden, he's like, "You know what? I'm interested in somebody else, and maybe this isn't such a good idea anymore. And so from that point on, I was going by myself to the counseling. I still kept going, and every time I went, I think I had a total of 7 counseling sessions. At the end of each counseling session, she would look me in the eye and she said, "So, where are you with God? Where do you stand with Jesus?" And that was just wouldn't leave me. So I'd go home and I'd get my Bible out and I'd start visiting old friends. The Gospels, the epistles. It was like homecoming. It was such a wonderful warmth. And, here I'd made up my mind, I'm going to get back together, we're going to make this work. And all of a sudden, he didn't want to. I'm like, "God?" And Lonnie said to me one day, he says, "Well, I'll tell you what, you're just going to get a very condensed version of what I've been through for the last 5 years." And I did. And it was a horrible roller coaster. But it made me so appreciate how strong he had stood for 5 years. And it was crazy for a year. I mean, I really lost it. I was almost like stalking him. I was obsessing, which is not good. And I started getting anxiety attacks and, all this weird stuff. And anyway, then I got to a place where, when I was in church, because, we went to the same church. He would sit up here, I would sit back here, But we had started praying together in the mornings. I would come over to his condo in the mornings before I'd go to work, and we'd pray together. We had committed to do that. So I was standing in church, and I said, "God, I don't know how many more times I can do this, because I don't trust him anymore." It's like a child that keeps getting slapped. You stretch your hand out for the cookie, and just about every time you touch it, you get that. And that's how it's been for a year. And so I'm like, this isn't, I can't do this anymore, Lord. And he said, "Do you trust me?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Then trust me. You don't have to trust him, just trust me." I said, "Okay." So I turned him over to the Lord and said, "Okay, God, I trust you. I'm going to move forward." And it was maybe 2 months later when Lonnie said he'd made the decision that, we were gonna give it another try. We were going to start dating, and he wasn't going to see the other lady again. And he kept his promise. We dated for, I think, 4 or 5 months. And then Mother's Day he proposed, and we got remarried, and we went to the pastor in our church, and we said, "We've decided to go ahead and get remarried." And he's like, "It's about time."
How great the love of Jesus Christ. Upon the cross of Calvary, the blood was shed that pardons me. No longer bound, no